to talk to you about a part of your body that many of you don't know much about, but it causes more ailments than perhaps any other. It's right here. This is one of the largest organs in your body, the small intestines. It's the gateway to your health. And there could be a condition happening way inside there in the small intestines, right in the walls, called leaky gut. And it's one of the most misunderstood concepts in medicine. Today, the quiz to help you determine if you have a leaky gut and if it could be the cause of your bloating and exhaustion. Dr.OZ is here with some answers on how to get rid of your leaky gut. So first, explain to everybody what I just showed them. What is a leaky gut?
So leaky gut is all about the small intestine, one of the largest organ systems in the body. It contains 2/3 of our immune system. It's responsible for packaging and processing anything that goes through that intestinal lining. When you've got leaky gut, though, think about a trash bag with a bunch of holes. Anything can get through. Any molecule can get through. Gluten, inflammatory proteins, toxins. And what happens then is it sets up inflammation and it triggers our immune response.
And because of that, it causes so many symptoms that you wouldn't even think are connected to your gut. So just walk us through a couple of the common ones you see in your practice.
There are so many symptoms of leaky gut. It is so tough. Everything from joint pain to brain fog, fatigue, rashes. I mean, I could go on, but obviously all the abdominal symptoms too, with cramping and diarrhea.
All right, so Dr.OZ has a quick 3-question quiz I want you all to take right now. Come on over to determine if you have a leaky gut. All you've got to do is answer yes or no to 3 questions, and they're pretty straightforward questions. Question number 1.
Does your poop float?
It's about as straightforward as it gets. Look next time. You should be anyway. And when you say you don't look, I don't believe you. I know everyone looks. All right. So does your poop float? We'll explain why that's important in a second. Question number 2.
Do you have joint pain or angry red rashes?
Which you might not think are correlated with your joints, but you'll understand why in a second. And question number 3.
Do you have bad breath or do you have a coated tongue?
Tongue looks like this, by the way. We're talking about that. So stick your tongue out. In fact, you look at the person next to you right now, because you can't tell if you have bad breath. They can. Just breathe on them and stick your tongue out. And everyone do this to each other. You can tell if you've got a coat there. How many of you said yes to even just one of these questions?
Wow, look at that.
Yeah. How many of you have poop that floats? Just curious. No, I'm not going to ask. When you go home, check it out. If you said yes to one of these questions, even just one, you may have a leaky gut. So before Dr.OZ reveals what you can do about it, I want you to understand the theory about why your intestines might be leaking and what that might mean for you. And it all comes down to the basics of the immune system and how it protects you. Okay, so everything we eat, anything you drink, has got some big molecules and some itty-bitty molecules. Your intestines can look at the big ones and the small ones, and it reacts differently. It absorbs the small ones. The big ones aren't allowed in there because your immune system will beat it up, right? So as the food's going down, you start to absorb the blue small molecules. The yellow ones don't get through until you have leaky gut. Once you get a leaky gut, not only do the blues, but the yellows start to slip in. There's one right there. And your body doesn't want to have these big proteins, so it gets red and angry and frustrated. You begin to fight a civil war inside your gut. Remember Dr.OZ said most of your immune system is in there? Well, guess what? When it's hypervigilant for too long, it begins to attack every part of your body. It attacks, for example, your joints, causing those redness areas that Dr. Bhatti was talking about. Now, you can put an end to your leaky gut. And Dr.OZ has 3 simple things you can do right now to make this happen. And the first, not surprisingly, is to get rid of some of the inflammatory foods that make your gut leak in the first place.
We talk about this all the time, about getting rid of inflammatory foods, and it's not as easy as it sounds, but I have some really neat tips that hopefully will help. Number 1 biggest inflammatory food is sugar. But what we can do instead is maybe replace it with stevia, and that way you can still enjoy some of your favorite treats like muffins or things like that and enjoy those throughout the day.
If you don't like stevia, monk fruit works. There's some other sweeteners now that are out there. Try them out, see what works for you.
Definitely. So sugar's one definitely to take out. The next one is dairy. Dairy is really hard on a leaky gut. It's hard to digest it. So I suggest removing dairy, replacing it with coconut milk. Coconut milk is anti-inflammatory and it's very easy on the gut. So take your favorite bowl of cereal, but skip the dairy and try the coconut milk instead.
And I like the taste anyway.
I do too. I love it. Now this one might be a harder sell, but it works. So your favorite tomato sauce. Those tomatoes are acidic and they're hard on a leaky gut. So try switching out your tomatoes with butternut squash. It has a similar texture, it tastes great, and I promise you can still enjoy your favorite pasta dish.
This looks like a creamy tomato sauce, and it's just a butternut squash sauce. and it works really well on pasta. What about raw tomatoes and nightshades?
Raw tomatoes and nightshades can be tough on the gut as well. And sometimes, you can boil the tomatoes to a point where the belly can tolerate it. But in general, if you've got leaky gut, it's a good idea to take all of those out.
Yeah. For a while, I just learned that you could peel the tomato and take the seeds out like you do in Italy.
Yes.
That might actually help protect your gut. It's a simple little hack there. All right, let's go over and talk about the digestive enzymes that sometimes don't work well in folks, and that allows us to be attacked when we shouldn't be.
Absolutely, and one of the problems with leaky gut is that we lack digestive enzymes, and that can actually make us gain weight. So one of the things we can do is bring it in, and foods contain digestive enzymes. Many people don't realize that. So one of my favorites is a morning pea shot.
Pea shot.
Pea shot.
So we got the floating poop.
And now we're talking
and
pea.
And the remedy is a pea shot.
That's what we do.
The show's going in the wrong direction.
It's going in the wrong direction, but we're gonna fix the whole thing. So this pea shot, though, really contains papaya and pineapple. They are both foods with naturally occurring digestive enzymes. I've got a little shot for you to try.
It's thick?
It's thick. Just take it first thing in the morning with your meals. You can take it right at the beginning of a meal or right after, but you want the food and the enzymes to get there at the same time so you digest your food well. And then we got a little creative, and I like experimenting because we don't want to do the same thing every day, but you can add avocados, you can add bananas, you can add honey, or even apple cider vinegar. And each of these have prebiotics that also help the digestive system, helping you beat a leaky gut.
And so prebiotics feed the gut and the bacteria. How important are probiotics, actually taking the bacteria themselves?
Probiotics are very important. So prebiotics play a role. Probiotics are important. They're important to keep you regular. They're important really with so many different aspects of your health. So you can take a probiotic as a supplement, or if you want to go the food-based route, you can try things like bone broth or kombucha and add them into your daily regimen.
Now that I'm closer to you, I'm going to ask it again. How many of you have pooped their floats?
They're not going to admit it.
They're not going to admit it. I love this.
Nope.
Listen, these are things we get embarrassed about. Go home and check them. Take the quiz in private. It's on DrOz.com, and then answer those questions. But you may be surprised at how you rate and how much better you can get taking some of Dr. Taz's advice. When we come back, the number one thing Dr. Taz says you can do to end your leaky gut. We're back with the number one thing you can do to relieve your leaky gut. But before we get to this tip, I need you to check out this little boy. Now, I thought I knew everything about poop, but I've been outshined by a little professor in training named Anson Huang. Can this 4-year-old little boy fix your gut? Oh, little Anson's here! My God, I didn't expect you. How are you? I'm Mehmet Oz. I love that video of you. How'd you learn so much about your intestines?
From my mom and dad.
What's the craziest thing about your stomach that you ever thought or learned about?
The craziest thing about the digestive system, you mean?
Yes, that's what I meant. Yes, you're right. I should have called it digestive system.
Or the gut.
Or the gut, either one. Is there anything crazy about it that amazes you, little Professor Anson?
There is something crazy.
What is that?
The food enters your mouth and then goes down your esophagus and then to your stomach. The stomach has hydrochloric acid.
This is priceless.
And it also has enzymes, which breaks down food.
You are something else. Give him a hand. You want to help me teach the audience? You want to come help me teach them about how to deal with their leaky gut? Because Dr. Taz is here. Is that okay? Come on over here. It's going to be fun. Come on. You're going to love it. I love your shoes, by the way. Here. Now stand up here. Stand up here so we can see you. There we are. Okay. Now, this is a little experiment we're going to do together. So, this is the turmeric lemonade. Are you ready to teach everyone how to make this? You sure?
Yes.
Oh, now he's smiling. It's like an experiment, isn't it?
Dr. Oz, I don't think you needed me. You could have just had him
I've got
on
the
show.
professor. He knows about hydrochloric acid.
He's
I love
talking
this.
hydrochloric acid. So we love hydrochloric acid, right, Anson? Because we know it helps a leaky gut, and we lose hydrochloric acid once we get sick or once we get stressed. So it's great to replace it. Lemonade or lemon juice helps to replace hydrochloric acid, but the stuff on the shelf usually has too much sugar in it. It has a lot of processed sugar. So we're going to make our own. Are you ready?
Yes.
This is going to be fun. Here, I'm going to give this to you. Okay, what we're going to do is squeeze these lemons and make our own lemonade, because lemon juice...
But where do we squeeze it?
We're going to
Right
show you. You're going
there.
to squeeze it right in that water.
That's a good question. You should have told him that.
I'm sorry. I'm so sorry, Anson.
You have to
you could do my job better.
You have to do
Please.
everything yourself in this business. Keep going.
I'm squeezing it.
So you squeeze the lemons because this activates our hydrochloric acid. So can you squeeze all of that in there? You want to do the other one as well?
I'll help. Oh, geez.
Oh, sorry.
Oh,
Whoops,
sorry.
almost
See what I
lost
said?
that.
See what I was talking about? All right.
Get out of here.
Did I get it in your eye?
I did. He's so cute. All right, so we got the lemons in there. Now what do we?
All right, you ready for the next step?
I got it on my
Got it
hand.
all over your hand. This is going to be messy too. Are you ready for this?
Yes.
All right,
see
so
me?
we're going to add, look at this, Anson, we're going to add turmeric to this. Turmeric
What is
has
that?
curcumin. It's a spice, but it has curcumin in. That's an anti-inflammatory. You want to stir that for me? Curcumin will help everything from your abdominal pain. It'll help your leaky gut. It'll help your belly pain when you get it.
You like that color?
All the way to the pain associated with inflammatory bowel disease, like Crohn's disease.
It looks
You can add a little bit of honey too for taste. You
But
want to add that in
I
as
like
well?
I think you're just enjoying the cool factor here.
I just like red.
You just like red?
You just like the red.
Orange. That's my second.
All right, now here's the thing. Now that you've made your magical concoction, I put a little honey in there. You got to taste
What?
this and tell me if you like it. Because if you like it, the audience will try it. And if you don't, well, they're going to have leaky gut.
Ready?
Are you ready? All the pressure's on. Go ahead and give that a taste.
Pressure.
What do you think?
It's good.
It's good.
You'd like it.
Mikey likes it. Edison likes it. God bless you. Thank you for being here. Stay hard. You can find Dr. Oz, my recipe for turmeric lemonade on DrOz.com. We'll be right back. A toast to you, my friend.
Awesome. Cheers.
Our big investigation into probiotics continues with the easy at-home test to see if your probiotic supplement really works. Now, for everyone who has probiotic supplements at home right now, we're going to show you how to find out if its live cultures are actually active. Dr. Srinivas Raj is back. Why is it important for folks to know that they have the right kind of probiotic?
Well, we know that different strains of probiotics are good for different parts of your body or different functions, and you also want to make sure that it's actually getting to your intestine where it's supposed to go and not being killed off by stomach acid and things like that.
And you want to make sure there's real stuff in there.
Absolutely.
And we've talked about foods mostly today that have probiotics, which are great, but supplements can work as well.
Sure.
The test for probiotic supplements works if your supplement contains something called Lactobacillus acidophilus. That's the most, actually it's the oldest one, right? It's what's in yogurt.
Right.
It's probably still the most common, I guess. It's very common if not. But you take your little capsule pills, they look like this oftentimes, and go ahead and show how you do it.
Yeah, so basically what you're going to do is you're going to put the capsules in the milk.
You have to break them up first?
You have to open them up. And basically you're going to mix it up with the milk and leave it out for 24 to 48 hours.
Okay, so we actually did this with these exact products in milk.
Yeah.
And waited 24 and 48 hours.
Yeah.
And at 48 hours, and even at 24 hours, that's a little bit loose there, but still pretty good.
Right.
Y'all see that?
The milk is actually curdled because the probiotics are actually causing enzymes to be released which digest the parts of the milk, and that causes it to curdle. So that's sort of a fun way to see your probiotics in action.
Yeah. And this is theoretically the kind of power it has inside your gut.
Right.
It's populating your gut to be able to do things like digest the foods, because you outsource the digestion, right? You're not digesting the food yourself. The most important stuff happens right at the lining of the intestines where your chewing is done,
Right.
your masticating with your tongue is done, the food's there with the bacteria in your gut, either having a good time or not.
Yeah, and these bacteria, they're like little workhorses in your intestine who are exactly what you said, helping you with your digestion.
All right, so some shopping guidelines. Dr. Raj feels that these are important for us to make sure we don't get stuck with a bad probiotic supplement. The first is to pick the right probiotic strain. I did not appreciate how important that was to this process.
It is really important, and we're still learning about which strains are good for which conditions, but there are certain conditions out there that we are pretty sure we have a handle on which probiotics are good for. Things like constipation or irritable bowel syndrome, something even like a yeast infection, which is outside the digestive tract. Probiotics can help with those. And if you're not sure, of course, talking to your doctor is also a great way to figure it out.
So we're going to put on our shopping list, our online guide, we're going to give you all right now, a list of these different conditions and
That's
which
right.
ones you might want to aim for. But again, at this point, for most people, any is better than none. Next, we want you to look for at least 10 billion live active organisms. Sounds like a big one, right? 10 billion? You know, part of the reason in our regimen we have USANA, who's a trusted sponsorship partner of ours, included, is they have 12 billion live active organisms. So I'd rather have more than not enough.
Yeah, so dosage is important. And again, we're still learning what is the correct dosage for certain conditions. But generally speaking, if you are trying to treat a symptom or a condition, 10 billion is kind of a good baseline number to aim for. And using the instructions, the recommended dosage, some of them need to be taken twice a day to get that 10 billion number. So make sure you really read the instructions carefully.
All right, we're going to have a shopper's guide on the best probiotics for you on DrOz.com. Check it out. We'll be right back. Nice job. It all started with the sheet mask. Now, I told you about them last year. I even tried it. Here I am in my audience. There I am, look at it. Ever since, at-home beauty masks have taken on a whole new life, promising everything from glowing to ageless skin. You look like a serial murderer when you're watching them and wearing them, but they actually seem to work pretty well. So today, we investigate the buzziest masks which work for your biggest complaints. Dermatologist Dr. Dendi Engelman is here. Dr. Engelman has investigated these masks and tried them herself. First up, we've got Caroline. How are you, Dendi?
Hi.
You okay under there?
Yes.
So far, all right. So Caroline is wearing a foil mask for moisture. So first describe what it feels like to everybody, and then I want to understand why the foil mask adds to the original mask we had.
I feel like I should make a Silence of the Lambs joke right now, but
You could actually, it would work.
It's a little heavy, but I mean, you know, for moisture, you want to get the maximum possible. So I think it's good to add the.
Does it make a
foil.
difference, Dendi, for moisture? What's the purpose here?
So it's an excellent point. She hit all the highlights. This trend is coming out of Korea, where we see a lot of beauty trends. And what they did was do a hack on the traditional sheet mask and just take some tinfoil, cut out holes for the eyes, nose, and mouth, and it really just keeps it from evaporating. So it drives the moisture into the skin, kind of supercharging your face mask that you had from the sheet. And then the industry kind of followed, and we actually have these masks now available that are foil. But the problem is, like you highlighted, it feels a little heavy, it feels a little claustrophobic, right? And so you're getting the boosted hydration from the mask, but the reality is it may not be as comfortable as a sheet mask.
You know what? Go over to our clean station over there. Our sink station, we call it. Clean yourself up. I'm gonna actually see what you look like and feel like afterwards.
Okay.
All right, head on over there. Go on. Next up, we've got Angelina. She's wearing a bubble mask for deep cleansing. These things have gone viral on Instagram, not surprisingly, because as you can see, they're sort of funny looking. You ever seen yourself?
I haven't.
Take a look at the camera, see if you don't laugh. How does it feel?
It's refreshing for sure. It feels kind of tingly. I can feel it bubbling up.
Danny, what's the process here? What's the idea?
So the process is that it's using oxygen to deep cleanse the pores, and this pop and fizzing of the bubbles that you're feeling are actually driving out the impurities and making our skin look cleaner and more glowing. So I actually love this mask. I think that it ranges in great price from $9 to $60. I used it at home, and I used the $9 one. I felt like my skin looked immediately better. It can be a little messy, so you put it on about 5 minutes before you get in the shower, and then just rinse it off, and your skin looks immediately better. And you can use it 2 to 3 times a week, and it's great if you're acne prone to blackheads or congestion.
So I want to see if it works for you. So again,
Yes.
head over to our sink
Okay,
station.
thank
You go up
you.
there, check it out. Finally, Brooke is wearing the magnet mask for anti-aging. You okay under there?
Yeah, I look like an avatar.
You do look at Avatar. It's very well stated. So how does this work, Andy?
So this is a kind of fun concept. It uses iron particles with the mask, and we use a magnet to take it off.
Oh, a real magnet?
Yeah, a real magnet. So what you do is wrap the magnet in tissue, and then you can see that it just comes right off with the magnet. And the concept is to
Oh, my
pull out
goodness.
the impurities in the skin, and it helps to detoxify and create an electromagnetic field.
Let me try that.
Yeah.
Let's see if I can do it.
Okay. So turn it to the side.
Yeah, I'll turn it on.
perfect.
So again, the magnet's pretty
Yeah, it's very
small.
strong.
Oh my goodness, you
Yeah.
can't get it off even.
Yeah, there you go. Perfect.
Look at that.
Yeah. So you just wrap it in tissue, and it comes off really easily. And then there's also, you don't rinse off the rest. You leave it and moisturize into the skin, and there are antioxidants that are there.
This is like shaving. Does it hurt at all?
No, not at all.
Oh my goodness. So what do you think about this thing? I mean, I know these brands have become pretty popular, and you have to splurge a bit. They're about $75.
This one is pricey, and I'm not quite sure it's worth the splurge. In all honesty, it's a little bit gimmicky. I mean, nobody ever said that iron particles were good for the skin. It does help to, in theory, detoxify the skin. But what's left behind is dimethicone. So if you feel our skin, it feels really soft. That's in a lot of skincare products. It smooths the skin, but has the potential to be pore clogging or comedogenic. So I wouldn't want you to use it more than once a week. For a special event, it's fine because it really makes your skin look smooth. But I wouldn't use it more than once.
You happy with it? Feel it, Brooke.
Yeah, it's so soft. It's like a baby's bottom.
Yeah, it's a gift from me to you.
Thank
Magnet.
you.
Come on. Let's go over to our sink station over here. Brooke and Angelina, Caroline and Angelina have cleaned themselves up. Come on in the middle here.
Okay.
So what do you guys think so far? You had the aluminum mask.
I did. It feels very nice and hydrated. It feels great.
So the Silence of the Lamb mask works.
Yes. A little uncomfortable at first, but now, I can definitely tell a difference.
And you haven't gotten all yours off, but you got most of it off. How does it feel?
It feels very clean. I feel very fresh, for sure.
And if you leave little spots like that on there,
You know, it's part of the routine.
or the makeup cut. I'm very happy for you guys. Thank
Thank
you. very much.
you.
We'll be right back. Today, how science can help solve a classic whodunit as we take an in-depth look at the murder of Trenton Mallory. Now, so far we know it was potentially a staged burglary based on these odd ransacked areas of the house, but nothing had been taken there. Trenton was shot in the back of his head, so the parietal lobe, and it penetrated back there and lodged in the front of his head, so it was from behind, so he didn't know what was happening. And fiancée Amber Smith called 911 when she found the house a mess after returning from morning errands. Forensic criminologist Dr. Laura Petler and crime correspondent Melissa Moore are back. Melissa, what do you know about Amber and Trent's relationship?
Well, they had a great relationship. He actually adopted her first child from a different relationship. He was a good guy. They would go on date nights. Everybody, the family members, the friends said they had a wonderful relationship. I do know that they did have financial troubles. With the first child, he had a heart transplant. So the medical bills were there, but other than that, they were a great, loving couple.
So after Trent's body was found, police brought Amber in for questioning, and her alibi seemed rock solid. So I'd like, again, you're an expert in this area, walk us through her alibi. And I have the actual pictures that the police department provided. This is an actual map that they used to try to figure out what she was up to. So she lives up there, right? Up
Yeah,
top corner.
so the story starts out where she leaves at 7:05 in the morning. She goes from her house up here down here to the general store and buys her son a snack, then takes her son and drops him and the snack off at this elementary school, then takes her other son who wasn't feeling well all the way down here to Quick Care because he was suffering from some type of ear infection. They get a prescription, they go to the Walgreens here and they fill the prescription. She gets him some Gatorade here, and then interestingly travels over here to her sister Amy's house, who she had been to maybe twice in the past 10 to 12 months.
So when you look at this, it does seem like a logical place. And the time of death, the coroner placed it around 9 a.m. How much value is there when a coroner gives a time of death?
You know, unless there is a witness to the death of the victim, time of death is really just an estimate.
Not as concrete as I thought.
It is not.
All right, so in your opinion, is this a rock solid alibi as it seems?
It is not.
It's not.
It is not. Absolutely not. Because regardless if we do have that 9 a.m. stamp of time of death, regardless, she says she gets up at 5:30 in the morning, she's in bed, then she gets up and does all these different things going back and forth. And it just doesn't make any sense because there's so many points that she visited, and she's not a traveler. This is not a person who gets up and does all this in the morning. She usually bakes the snack and drops it off at the school. She didn't. She bought it at the store. The kids usually ride the bus to school. So there's lots of breaks in routine in Amber's story and her routine that we flag as forensic criminologists. Anytime you see a break in routine, you got to raise a red flag.
So she's now a suspect in your opinion, potentially.
She is.
And then a big clue comes forward. And this is not something I would have thought of, but if you can put the next picture up here, detectives begin to unravel this mystery with a big new piece of evidence.
Yes.
This is the snow outside her sister's home.
Yes, this is the snowbanks that are surrounding her sister, Amy Sullivan's house. And what Amber tells detectives is, you know what, I went to my sister's, she's a really heavy sleeper, I had to knock on the door, she didn't come to the door, so I walked around the house and went to all the windows, knocking on the windows, and she never came to the door. But you know what was really fascinating about this? Is when the police retraced her steps, they also went to Amy's house and they never found any footprints in the snow.
You're kidding.
No. No footprints.
That's a problem.
I would say it's a problem. That's what we call a clue.
All right, that's what we call a clue. And then the gun that killed Trenton Mallory is found. And this is the most shocking part. Here's the actual image. Please explain what we're looking at.
So when her sister came home, she didn't even know Amber had been there, and then the next day or sometime very soon after, the snowbanks begin to melt, and her sister Amy sees something sticking out of the ground, thought it was a shovel, walks outside, looks and sees that it is the barrel of a gun, and immediately calls the police. Says, there is a gun in my yard buried in a snowbank. It's not mine. I don't know what to do. So then the investigation really, really took a different turn.
So what have they found? Why, first of all, was it her gun? Was it Amber's gun?
It turned out to be Amber and Trenton's gun. And the gun was then processed for fingerprints, DNA, and things of that nature, and Amber's fingerprints were found on the firearm. Interestingly, the same type of projectile in the shell casing, when this firearm was test fired, they were all found to be a match.
Why would Amber put the gun in the snow outside her sister's home?
You know, it's interesting. The answer to every question, every time we ask something like that about offender, is because it meets the needs of the offender. And in this case, Amber's needs were to get rid of that gun as quickly as she could. So this was a really convenient place. She went to somewhere that was familiar to her. Behaviorally and psychologically, this made her comfortable. She stuck it in the snow, buried it, and was gone really fast.
So the evidence we just showed all of you right now was used together, and it was enough because Amber Smith was arrested for the murder of her fiancé, Trenton Mallory. So, Melissa, you just told me they had a great relationship. He had adopted one of her kids or was supportive of them in many ways possible. What was the motive?
Money. So she was actually addicted to gambling. The house was in foreclosure. She had a ton of bills, but Trent did not know about these financial troubles. So to get rid of the financial troubles, he didn't have a life insurance policy, but all the bills were in his name. So to get rid of it, it would to eliminate him.
So we just saw a lot of evidence. You got, unpaid bills and lottery tickets, I guess, right there. This is information that was also delivered.